Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Shift Keys
Tiny tweaks, big wins.
with MK Mueller and
Cindy Stauffer.
yeah. So today we're going to talk about um, how to achieve a no cravings lifestyle by making some simple swaps. So we're not nutritionists. We're not claiming to be. We'll let you know what our credentials are here in a minute. But basically, we're practical people who have watched thousands of dieters say, gosh, I'm addicted to sugar. And people say, well, just eat less of it, which is not helpful. If you don't give us a swap food, if you don't tell me what to eat instead, I'm going to have that salty craving. I'm going to have that sweet craving. I'm going to have that spicy craving, or even there's a craving for crunch, right? And you go, oh no, but my chips, don't ask me to give up my chips or my whatever it is. We're going to help you with those. So we're going to only focus today on 8 different foods or food groups and how you can switch them out. And my credentials, again, not a medical expert by any means, but I did write the book 8 to Your Ideal Weight, which has helped tens of thousands of men and women who want to get off sugar addiction. And I'll tell you more about my sugar addiction in just a minute. And Cindy?
I'm a psychologist and author of the book Girls and Women Simply Be Your Magnificent Self, which covers a lot about female self-esteem.
Right. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So, my personal journey with sugar cravings is that until I was 60 years old, and that was 10 years ago, I had to have sugar literally within reach. It was in my bedstand, my nightstand. It was in my glove compartment. It was in my desk drawer at work. People would give me Christmas or birthday presents, and there would be peanut M&Ms in the bow on top. They knew, they associated me with having this need to constantly have sugar. Well, it took me just kind of it wasn't I was walking by a mirror one day or someone called me fat. I was about 20 pounds over my ideal weight, which is not good on my small frame, but certainly not an obesity issue at the time, but it was a wall where I just kept going on trying this and trying that, and not working and just saying, okay, I'm going to figure out what works. And I found a book by Dr. Mark Hyman called The 10-Day Detox, which was extremely complicated. Did it work? Yes. Was it a part-time job? Yes. And so what I did was I took his concepts and I narrowed them down for me. And when I found out that a month later, I went from having to have sugar to being neutral about sugar, and then the following month being neutral about sugar to absolutely not wanting it. It didn't even look good. I remember being at a friend's house and some commercial came on where they were pouring syrup on pancakes, and I had to get up and run out of the room. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, that looks disgusting. So to all the pancake lovers out there, I apologize. But that's what happens because you see sugar for what it is. If you remember back to the 50s, when everybody smoked, my parents both smoked. My dad was a dentist, everybody, doctors smoked. They smoked in TV commercials or in sitcoms or whatever. Everybody smoked because we did not understand. So the fact that everyone was doing it didn't make it safe or good for us. And the folks who write books like the one I've written and do this kind of work, we really feel that sugar is that new nicotine, that we will look at sugar and how it's invaded 80% of everything in the supermarket 10 years from now and say, oh my gosh, how could we have done that? So, Cindy, tell us a little bit about your thoughts about sugar.
Well, one thought I just had was that I recall being at my sister's house. She always had a very good diet and still does. And she was pouring pure maple syrup on pancakes, but it was about a tablespoon. And at that time, I thought, how does she do that? Oh my gosh, I'd put 10 times that much on mine. So I, however, that's all they needed, which was impressive to me. Um, Today, I totally understand it and totally understand that, I always say sugar is the devil. But I've also encountered a lot of people who struggle with weight loss, and their naturally their self-esteem, and oftentimes it has to do with their diet, particularly including a lot of sugar, especially with those foods that have the hidden added sugars that people aren't aware of. When people think of sugar, they think, a rich dessert or, a candy bar, but there are so many other things that contain sugar. And, if people want to feel good with themselves and are not happy with the way they're looking, then they want to do something different,
Right.
hopefully anyway. And I want to say that some people like to embrace their appearance, even if they're overweight. And I'm not suggesting that being thin is your only ticket to positive self-esteem, but most women that I know fret over their weight.
Oh, the statistic is it's right around 80%. Right around
Yeah,
80% of women will go on a diet this year, right?
yeah.
And why? Because last year's did not stick. So we're going to talk about here is a lifestyle because for the last 12 years, I have lived the swaps that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And they're amazing. And all of us have swapped out foods. Think about it. Cindy, I bet you have one too. You went from whole milk at one point to skim milk. You went
Yes.
from one kind of soda to maybe a diet soda. I mean, all of us have done that, right? And so you can say, oh, well, I don't want to give up but you've made those shifts before. And how did you do it? Well, there's two ways. One is it only takes you about a week to get used to a new food taste. Secondly, we only taste the first bite or the first sip. So once you had that first sip of, let's say, skim milk, which by the way, I don't recommend in my program. We say whole milk is better than skim milk.
White water. That's what skim
Yeah,
milk is to me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're not promoting that. I'm just saying that all of us have made the shift at one time or another. And that first sip, you go, wait a minute, it doesn't taste like the old one, but you only taste the first sip, and then you're kind of, you know, unconscious when you're eating and drinking because you're talking, you're doing other things. So
And you know what I really, really like about this idea of swapping, MK, is human nature is, if we're told not to do something, even kids, a lot of times that word don't or not doesn't even register, and there's more of a desire to get that forbidden fruit. So I really like this idea of replacing, making tiny tweaks, to alter your diet without saying absolutely don't ever eat this.
right. Yeah, that just makes you right. It just increases your desire for it. Fantastic, dear one. So why is sugar such a problem? Let's talk about that. Sugar is 8 times, lots of eights in this conversation today, 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And that's why when coaching clients call Cindy or call me and say, I don't know why I can't stop, you know, eating all the peanut M&Ms or whatever their addiction is, it's not a thing of, oh, well, just stop. Would you say that to a cocaine addict? No, you'd help them find a coach, you'd help them find a group, you'd help them find some kind of support, right? And so that's what we're talking about here is we want to be part of your support system. Certainly we suggest you do get a coach or a group, but part of your support system is going to be knowing some fun swaps. And again, because I've got 12 years of experience to do that, I know a lot of those swaps. So we're going to talk about how to swap out things like chocolate bars and pizza and pasta and all sorts of things that will help you. And how you get to stopping the cravings is not giving up sugar completely. Not possible, really. It's really not possible in today's day and age. But we're talking added sugars only. So if you look at a label, you'll see that there's sugars and added sugars. Well, blueberries, a couple of blueberries might have, 11 grams of sugar, but there's no added sugar. That's just the natural fruit sugar. So as long as you're eating the whole berry, right, the inside and the outside, the skin of the berry, then there's absolutely zero added sugar to that. So if women keep it under 20 grams of added sugars a day, all cravings go away. And again, you'll be amazed. They just go away. Not immediately, but after a month or 2 months, it depends on the person. For men, it's more 30 grams. So again, under 30 grams of added sugar. So a friend of mine was calling me the other day and said, I think I'm ready to, do this decreasing my added sugars. So, and I said, where are you right now? And she said, Starbucks. And I said, so are you eating one of their, pumpkin drinks? And she goes, yeah. And I said, I could be wrong, but I think it's 60 or 70 grams of added sugar
Ooh,
to that one drink. So yeah, what happens then is you hijack your taste buds. So now you have told your body, this is what food tastes like. And when you have a strawberry with your salad later on, it's going to taste like cardboard. In fact, I remember the first time I bit into a strawberry after I got off added sugars, and it was so sweet. I said, oh my gosh, I've been missing out all these years. And I'm not going to miss those other sweets because strawberries, maybe a little whipped cream on top or whatever, it's just so good, so good. But again, if you're hijacking yourself with sugary breakfast foods or sugary coffee drinks, well, yeah. So what I want to start with today then about how big a problem is sugar for many of us is a story from my book, 8 to Your Ideal Weight. And so this was from Chelsea, a mom of three, who said, as I went through your program, I realized how much sugar reminded me of an abusive partner. Growing up, I had a friend who always seemed to pick the worst guys. They were losers who would treat her awful 90% of the time, and the other 10%, when they were halfway decent, it was only to get what they wanted. Once the abuse started, I would beg her to stop seeing them. Unfortunately, all I could do was be there for her when she would need comfort after a rough patch. I always hoped one day she would get angry enough to stop the cycle. I can see now that sugar has been my abusive boyfriend to my mind and body. The headaches, the body aches, the extra weight were evidence of a sick love affair with sugar, much like bruises from a violent relationship. It treated me badly, and I kept going back because for a minuscule amount of time, it felt good. And also, dear Chelsea, because sugar is addicting. The other 95% of the time, I allowed it to do horrible things. My mind and body have cried out, and nowadays I'm befriending myself, and the freedom is liberating. Love it, love it. Thank you so much, Chelsea. So I'll just stick that little book up there. Okay, so number one is replacing fruit juices with real fruit. I see simple, and what's you're going to say orange juice? Yep, that's the first thing we're going to replace because well, you tell them why, Cindy.
well, orange juice, apple juice, any of the fruit juices. What you're missing out on is the chewing, first of all, of real fruit that helps with digestion. Um, Whole fruit promotes a feeling of fullness, and it helps to regulate blood sugar levels. Ironically, they're
Right,
sweet, they help
right.
to regulate blood sugar levels.
Because we're eating the skin,
Right.
right? So when we're not having the skin or the pulp, right, then it's the same as just drinking liquid sugar. So again, might sound surprising, and Cindy said there were going to be some surprises here. Just helping yourself not get that sugar spike in the morning is just replace it with real fruit. Okay. The second one, let's stick with breakfast here, is replacing cereal, French toast, pancakes with either steel cut oats with fresh fruit or eggs with veggie and cheese. I eat gluten-free. So one of my favorite breakfasts nowadays is half an avocado, tomato, and cottage cheese. And I'm getting a lot of protein. It's just so delicious. And again, once you get off of the high sugar foods, it's incredibly sweet. I don't know if it's the tomato, I don't know. It's just incredibly filling. So, what are one of your favorite breakfasts, dear one?
Well, my favorite breakfast, I'm not as ambitious as you are in
And
preparing breakfast,
you're not gluten free, which is fine.
and I'm not gluten free. So one of my favorites, one of my new finds is the sourdough bread at Aldi, which is pretty pure, has three ingredients. I think it's flour, water, and salt. I have that a slice or two with peanut butter. Um, I will confess I eat Jif peanut butter, which has sugar in it, but there are plenty of natural peanut butters that don't have the sugar content. But that is my go-to, my favorite breakfast.
And again, once you look at the jar, yeah, there are some, right, commercially produced peanut butters that have higher sugar than others. There are tomato sauces with higher sugar than others. So
Right.
you only have to look at the jar once. You don't have to look at it every time because you'll remember, oh, this is the peanut butter that has the lower sugar. I prefer almond butter. Just again, just a little tiny bit better for my gluten-free lifestyle, but it's all good. Wonderful. So let's
And you know too, if you think the peanut butter has too much sugar or anything, you can use a little bit less. You can just
Mhm.
put a little smear of it on your
There you
toast.
go.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Number three is we're going to jump now to dinner. Ice cream, right? A lot of people say, okay, just don't ask me to give up my ice cream. So for me, it wasn't a huge desire, but I certainly did love my ice cream. So I started to replace it with a fourth cup of whipped cream. And whipped cream with real fruit, and I would always put pecans and cinnamon. So I'd have that little bowl of whipped cream, pecans, and what was some of the fruits? Sometimes I put strawberries or blueberries or whatever. Boy, that was a nice nighttime treat. How about you, hon?
Another nice replacement for ice cream. Again, not ideal in terms of sugar content, but if you're keeping track of your grams of sugar, you might have room for this. Graham crackers with whipped cream in between and then frozen are very much like ice cream sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to gradually wean yourself away from ice cream, that's a really good substitute.
There you go. There you go. Well, it could be a half and a half. It doesn't have to be a whole gram, right? Or whole gram cracker. So
Right.
super, super, super. There's another kind of ice cream that you make with bananas. So you can just
Oh,
make
yes.
banana ice cream. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people make that again, then freeze it and swear by it. So whatever works for you on that one. Number four is chips. Come on, let's face it. I love my crunch. I know so many people out there. Do you love chips too? Yeah. Well, there are amazing crackers now. Now, again, because I'm gluten free, I'm going to go to a cracker like Mary's Gone Crackers. But just finding that cracker, and then I just say a handful. If you're eating for hunger or even because you want the crunch, you do not need more than the handful, like whatever you can hold in one hand. It might be pistachios that's going to be my crunch. And again, just how many pistachios? I eat them with I start with the shell on, so I eat them slower. But I found that pistachios are incredibly sweet, but all nuts are crunchy, right? So, do you have a chip that you like, hun?
I love the Crunch Master crackers from Costco. Get a huge box with two big bags in it, uh, less than 1 gram of added sugar
I love it. I
in
love
those.
that. Yeah,
And you get some nutrition from these kinds of crackers
right,
versus potato chips that virtually have no redeeming qualities,
right, right, right.
no
And
nutritional value.
yeah, you got, yeah. Well, don't get us started on that one. Okay, now let's go to sodas. So we go from regular soda to diet soda. Often people have made that shift. And actually, we find now with all the research that diet soda is as bad. There are people who say worse. They're both right at the top of something you want to release. Now, this was the hardest one for me to release because I was having about three 8-ounce glasses of diet soda a day. Not proud to say that. But so I went down to two And after a couple weeks, I went down to one. And then I was able to make the switch to LaCroix waters, which I love. I love their coconut, but there's 21, well, they're probably 25 flavors by now. There's one called Bubbly. There's one called Waterloo waters. And my new favorite is simply Perrier. So yeah, Perrier works.
Um, and the thing with soda is if you look at the added sugar on the side of the can and you look at the number of grams, let's say a can of Pepsi or Coke, and you take that number, let's say it's, I don't know, 30 grams, 32 grams, divide it by four, and that's how many teaspoons of sugar you may as well just be eating and putting into your body. And sometimes that's a real wake up call for people.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and another fun thing to do if you have a craving for something other than water is simply to add some fruit to your water. You can even get yourself a fancy little pitcher that has a little container for fruit
Right. And
or
yeah,
cucumbers,
I was going to
cucumber
say
water.
cucumbers. Yep. I was just going to
Yeah,
say that. I love cucumber
yeah.
water. Great, everyone. Okay, so now let's get to that fun thing I mentioned earlier, pizza. Well, what are you going to do? The body uses bread as sugar. That's how it processes. Not all breads, and some better than others. Certainly, sourdough is a little better. Ezekiel bread's a little better. But basically, in this country, there's so much processing done to bread that the body just understands it as sugar. So instead of bread, we're going to talk about some replacements for pasta. So pizza, what I do is I still go out with my friends to pizza, but I only eat the pizza toppings. And you will be amazed, right? I get two or three big pieces of pizza, and I'm just scraping off the top and putting these, I call them slabs of pizza crust off to the side on a separate plate. And then I'm enjoying my food. Again, really only taste the first bite. And I'm having fun eating the pizza. And at the end of the meal, I'm like, okay, you want to go play putt golf? What are you going to do now? And it's almost 100% of the time my friends are going, oh, I'm kind of tired. I think I'm just going to go home. And yeah, because again, what's that sugar spike going to do? Whoop, bah. Same thing with white rice. For me, it's even brown rice. But again, that depends on your body. But rice, I went out with someone and she said, oh, I'll eat your rice. When I said I didn't need any rice with my vegetables. And I said, oh, it doesn't make you tired. And she goes, no. She almost passed out from eating both her rice and my rice. So again, we don't understand. I look at a lot of sugars as, oh, do I want a sleeping pill right now? I don't. So I have no need to eat that right now. But again, oh, pizza toppings, ooh, all that good cheese and all onions and mushrooms or whatever you put on it. Ah, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so next one is chocolate bars. We certainly love our chocolate. And chocolate, here's the good news, guys. Dark chocolate is really good for you. Not sort of good for you, really good for you. You want to be eating some kind of dark chocolate. So one of my favorites is Lindt bars, Lindt. I just found out that it's one of the chocolates that's lower in mercury, believe it or not. There's mercury in some chocolates. But what I love about it is when I started out, I wanted about 70% dark chocolate. And so it says real big on the bar, 70%. And pretty soon that was too sweet for me. And I went to 75, 80, 85, 90. Nowadays, again, it's been 12 years, guys, but 95%, that's the bar I'm looking for. All I'm going to have is that little bit, and usually I'll have it with a cracker or something with some nuts. I get that chocolate fix. I'll have two of those a day. I'll have two little squares of chocolate, less than 1 gram of sugar, but I'm getting my nutritional chocolate and I'm getting my chocolate fix. So I love that. And the other thing I love are Kind bars. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but you got to be careful. Kind bars have high sugar kind bars and they have low sugar. So you got to again look and see, is it 5 or 6 grams per bar? And if it's a mini, you want it to just have 3 grams. of sugar per bar. And you have one you said that you liked?
The Nugo, Nugo, vegan slim protein bars. They are so delicious and also can give you your chocolate fix and have a relatively low sugar content, only 3 grams of added sugar, which is great for a protein bar.
I was going to say a lot of protein. Do you remember how much protein's in them?
16 grams.
Yeah, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
For 3 grams of added sugar, that's a lot. And the other thing I remember about Nugo bars is crunchy, right? If you want your
Yes.
chocolate and your crunch, and that's what I like about Kind bars. Again, I get my chocolate and my crunch. I eat one called mm, sea salt, I think, and dark chocolate is called, but it has lots of nuts in
Mm.
it. So yeah, love
Yeah, and
that.
they're nice to grab if there are times when you might be doing something and you don't get to eat lunch, or you know that you're going to get hungry before the next meal. That's a wonderful thing to incorporate into your
It is,
diet.
yeah, it's very filling. I
Yeah.
agree. Okay, and last but not least, let's say, wait a minute, I'm Italian. We have a lot of Italian people who've gone through the 8 to Your Ideal Weight program, and they have made this switch and loved it. And that is going to a spaghetti squash or zucchini noodles instead of the regular spaghetti noodles. And once you put the sauce on it, who can tell? Even your kids won't be able to tell, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, and those zucchini noodles in particular are pretty easy to make. You could pick up for about $20 off of Amazon a noodle maker. They, of course, have more expensive ones, but it's pretty quick and easy. And you can make your own spaghetti sauce in no time
True.
and uh, not have the added sugars in that.
Right,
And
right.
that's what I make, a big pot of it, freeze it. For those of you who enjoy cooking, it's a delightful thing to make, and it has carrots and other vegetables in it. Um, Very much worth trying,
Yes,
and
love it.
less expensive
Yep, and I
than the
I
bottled
personally am going to buy the
jars.
zucchini noodles already made, but
Oh,
you go with Cindy's, homemade. That's another good way to do that. Okay, well, anyway, so there's those 8 tips. We'd love to hear your comments. Or any foods that you want to add to the good food swaps. And Cindy's going to finish up today with our teaching tip for the week.
yes. Today I'm dressed in my workout clothes. I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of movement. If you find yourself feeling sort of sedentary and not real motivated to do any kind of formal exercise, and I want to preface this with saying that over my many years of working with clients in therapy, many depressed people had a real hard time getting moving, as well as having a healthy diet. And sometimes I got them to just, not I got them, but encouraged them, invited them to try walking down to the end of their street and coming back, and doing that for a week or so, and then adding a block or two each time. And walking, if you don't have any trouble walking, is probably the best way to start becoming more active. I'm also a big believer in working out with friends, walking with friends, and prioritizing this. It's easy to, instead of take care of ourselves, allow other things to interfere with our exercise time or walking time. But if you can make that a commitment, a priority for you because you deserve it, then you're likely to create more of a routine of doing it.
I love it. I love it. And just to be extra personal, Cindy is one of my walking partners. And I just
Right.
love that we have a time every week where we walk. And I am a social being. I love to do things with people, go to Planet Fitness and do their workout circuit with someone. And that's an amazingly quick.
And it helps hold you accountable if
Oh,
it's in
yeah.
your schedule. And yeah.
Yep, 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 yep. And the other thing I do sometimes right after meals is a 10-minute, the 10 minutes, if I exercise for 10 minutes, within 10 minutes of a meal. It helps me not turn that food I just ate into fat, but rather into muscle and energy. And for me, it's not always going to be a walk around the block if it's too hot or too cold or whatever, excuse I'm coming up with. I might just, do the laundry at that time. Or I might get in the car and drive to Walmart and have something I need to pick up in the store and walk around the store for 10 minutes, or Target or whatever huge, Costco, whatever huge store you go to. So again, doing that right after a meal is really, really helpful. So thank you for pointing that out for us, Cindy.
Sure.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
All right. Well, hopefully some of this is all helpful. We love hearing from you. Please consider subscribing, and we love your comments. We love it when you like our podcast. We've got a lot of new topics that we'll be bringing in. But for now, and until next time, enjoy your shift keys. Take care.